everyone, and welcome back. So today we are once again doing a gaming review. So I've got nothing to hold up today. Well, not quite, because today we're not talking about gaming consoles. We're talking about is the gaming PC. So whether you are using a mouse and a keyboard, or whether you're actually going to use a plug-in controller, we're going to be looking at the idea of PC gaming. Now, PC gaming is one that divides people. A lot of people prefer the idea of a console. They've got their PlayStation, they've got their Xbox, whatever it might be. That's what they prefer. Or they've got to the new wave of the Nintendo Switch. I say new wave because I am much more of the old wave when we look at the handhelds. And believe me, we will be doing the Game Gear in the future. But the PC is the origin of all of this. If we look back in time to the idea of the very first computer game, of course, was Space War. And Space War came out of the PDP computer mini systems. Now, these were the start of a lot of things in terms of gaming and in computing. They actually were the ones that were mainly responsible for the idea of hacking and the hacking culture that then led to a lot of video games, led to a lot of developments and new things in computing. And of course, the first console didn't come out until the Odyssey in 1972, but the PDP Space War came out in 1962, a whole 10 years before we got the idea of consoles. Now, of course, this was a development. This was a progression that was always going to happen. But it is important to note that the PC was the origin of these games. Now, I can go back in time to when I was a child and playing golf on my 386 computer. Then we upgraded to a 486 computer, and maybe I'd play something a little bit better. But that was the origin of a lot of these games. They simply wouldn't exist without it. And PCs did not stop there. They have upgraded to a lot more things with better resolution on screens, faster uptake. And of course, the biggest difference between just a normal computer and the gaming computer is that graphics card. Now, that graphics card is all that really separates it, making the PC something that actually is quite simple to get into. Generally, every household has a PC. Now, let's upgrade to a gaming PC, and you can do everything you need, but also have a little bit extra as well. Why would you have a gaming computer? Now, obviously, they look cool. We can't escape that. But of course, they do a hell of a lot more too. And they can play those games that we all enjoy. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people that are stuck in their ways of the idea of a console and the idea that it's easy to move around, it's small, it's portable. And so if you like to chill out in your front room and play, then there's an obvious reason for it. Now, of course, the smaller PCs have come out. You have got amazingly powerful small PCs that can be moved around as well, so you can have that. The PC now, with the idea that we can actually download from the internet rather than how it used to be, does mean that it's a lot easier to play on. Now, obviously, the refresh rate on screens is also much better than on consoles as well. And there has been a huge change with, in fact, the PC gaming market increasing in the past 2-3 years, especially during the time of lockdown. People are getting far more into it, and there's not as much divisiveness as there may be in consoles. Yes, there's PC versus consoles, but there's not this idea of anything else. Now, on top of that, for games such as we have on screen, where it comes to the idea of accuracy, when it's a shoot 'em up, then actually keyboard and mouse is far more accurate than the day of the controller. But if you do on the controller, that is also possible to plug and play as well. So at the end of the day, is one better than the other? Now, I am biased. I am a PC gamer, if you can call me a gamer at all, but I do have a great place in my heart for older consoles. I really enjoyed the original Nintendo Entertainment System. I also enjoyed the Commodore 64, the original one, as well as that, the Game Gear from Sega. Now, the newer ones have not impressed me as much, although PlayStation, the original one, maybe a little bit. But I am not someone that enjoys the newer consoles. I think they're very much overpriced for what they are. I think the big advantage with the PC, as I said earlier, is that it doesn't just do that. Now, obviously, this was something that came up with other consoles, that you can link them into the internet. You can do a lot more with them. But I think the great advantage with PC gaming is the PC does everything. You have the internet, you had word processing, you have everything that you could want for an office job, 9 to 5. And when that switches off, you go straight into some gaming. And there are a lot of advantages to that. So I am, of course, somewhat biased, but I do think it's something to think about. Yes, it can be more expensive, but the weird thing that always comes around is that the games are so much more expensive. I have to say, from every time that I've come across it, the games are actually far, far cheaper on PC because of the downloading from it. They are far cheaper, especially if you go into certain sites that have the discounts on them as well. So is it something you should look into? I think absolutely. I think PC gaming is something you should try at least once or twice, especially if you're into this idea of shooting games, because, as I say, far more accurate with a keyboard and mouse. Whether people would like that idea or not, it's just true. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you're not any good at so many different games, as I am not. Again, Up for Bad Gaming, there's a reason I'm called that, because there's so many diverse games that are on the PC that don't necessarily make it onto console and everything else. A simple one being things like Inscription, Uno, the games that I've played on this channel that are simple card games, but have a lot more to them, not something you generally get on consoles. And so I think there's a lot more to the PC gaming. And of course, the history of PC gaming is the history of gaming altogether. Without the original PCs, that PDP Space War game in 1962, there would have been no Odyssey in 1972, and there would have been no home video consoles. So the biggest thing to bring home is that if PC gaming didn't exist, gaming wouldn't exist.